listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for sharing part of your day with me this time. My name is Jerry Mitchell. Myra is not sitting in her supervisor's chair. She is out and about with the granddaughters, so you're stuck with me, which may or may not be good or bad. It kind of depends, right? You get me all day. Well, not all day, for at least the next little while. But I do appreciate it. If you're new to Give God 90, we thank you. Make sure you check out our website. If you like what you hear, please click on the notifications. You know what to do there. We do appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments you can leave if you so choose. Whenever you want to. As these go out, I know that not all of them, or I should say not all of you, are often able to listen, when we do this live, and that's fine. But we do appreciate when you go ahead and leave us a message in the chat directly through the Spreaker portal, or on one of the many social medias that we are currently on. If you really, really, really want to get up with us, if you go to the website, there is a contact page there as well. But that is up to you. So you can do it that way too. I want to look at something today that comes as a result. Myra shared a video with me that was sent to her. And I listened to it, and I don't know the name of the gentleman who was the focus of the video. It was actually a clip, I believe, from a Dr. Phil show. Dr. Phil was there. The fellow was actually part of the discussion group. And what he said, I think, makes a lot of sense. And basically what his whole premise is just because you identify as something or someone other than yourself doesn't mean it's reality. Okay, it doesn't automatically make it true. Now, specifically, he was referring to the whole men identifying as women and women identifying as men, and some people identify as animals now. It doesn't make it true, okay? The other people who were there would not define in this short clip that I watched what a woman was, okay? They asked him, and he said that his definition of a woman is an adult female human being, which makes sense, right? At least it does to me. And he goes deeper. He goes much deeper. The fellow who was the main focus of this video emphasized that when a female dies, if you dig up the bones 100 years later, okay, we don't know what was going on in her head. We don't know her thoughts. We don't know her feelings. But physically, we can tell it was female due to the bone construction. Now, this would actually indicate even after the fleshy, biological, reproductive organs are not really needed to identify the difference between male and female. It actually, male and female are designed during the construction of the skeleton that is formed during gestation. As the fetus grows, the bones, the initial DNA in your body that make up your bones, they are what determine if you are male or female. That's an amazing thing to think about. If you're human, Male or female is not a feeling. It's not even flesh that can be surgically altered. It goes much, much deeper than that. Now, the way we choose to alter our language today to suit our own personal pleasures, well, that just sort of displays how selfish human beings really are. Now, if we think about, we have this thing today called, my preferred pronouns are, right? So instead of a man being called he or him, as the English has defined the pronouns to be used, it's up to his latest change in feelings and linguistics. Now, apparently we are supposed to be free to choose how we are to be identified. Just wait till I get to identifying believers and unbelievers in this. So, if we are supposed to be free to choose how we are to be identified, well, where does it stop? For instance, I can choose to be considered rich and handsome, right? Now, my picture is out there if you look at the Give God 90 stuff, okay? You can pretty much tell I'm not rich or handsome, okay? So, but these can be actually my preferred adjectives. Now, it doesn't make it true. I'm far from rich, and Myra's probably the only one who would consider me handsome. But does it stop there? What if I choose to identify, what if I choose to identify as the supreme emperor of the universe? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? According to the latest use of the English language and, our political correctness in the world today, you would be obligated to refer to me in that manner, Supreme Emperor of the universe. You can all bow down to me now. No. Hopefully, you all know I'm using some very outrageous examples here. Okay? These outrageous examples that I'm using are for a purpose. They are to hopefully get you to think about when someone tells you their preferred pronouns are they or them, or maybe some of the really weird ones. I saw one the other day that was AY, like, "I, how are you doing today?" It makes no sense. What the enemy has done is to basically hijack the language. They're taking something biological and attempting to associate grammar. Sex is about biology. Gender is about grammar. Everybody should know that. Sadly, though, and here's where I have an issue. Many believers have actually fallen into the trap of following the crowd. And they think that if we correct someone, that we don't love them. Or, if we hold someone accountable when they are wrong, when they're doing something incorrect, somehow holding them accountable for their wrongdoing and wrong thinking, well, that means we don't love them. But if you look at what David wrote, Psalm 141, verse 5, "Let the righteous man strike me. Let his rebuke be an act of loving devotion." let me read that again. Let the righteous man strike me. Let his rebuke be an act of loving devotion. And David goes on, it is oil for my head. Let me not refuse it, for my prayer is ever against the deeds of the wicked. Later, Solomon would write in Proverbs 9:8, do not rebuke a mocker, he will hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. So this concept of not being able to hold someone accountable, because we don't love them, no, you hold people accountable because you do love them. Now, we are to hold other believers accountable to the word of our Creator, because those who do not believe or who reject the Creator, well, they simply have not joined in that covenant relationship that believers should be joined in, right? They should be in that covenant relationship with the Creator of the universe, and they hold each other accountable to a different set of standards. It's kind of like in a marriage. Let's say, for the sake of exaggerated argument, okay, that we have one couple who are both strong believers. They, have proclaimed the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is their God, and they attempt to live according to his rules, according to his instructions. They practice monogamy in their marriage. Now, for the sake of outrageous argument, let's look at another couple. These people are not believers. They either have rejected God or they don't care. All right? Maybe they practice polyamory, having many lovers. The believers can't hold the unbelieving couple accountable to their standards of monogamy because, the believing couple is in a covenant relationship, but the unbelieving couple is not. I hope that makes sense. I love it when Myra's here because I get to look at her reaction when I say things like that to make sure that I'm saying it right so that's understood. But we learn this concept from Paul in 1 Corinthians 5. Basically what he's saying is, what business is it for me to judge those outside the fellowship? In other words, what business is it of me to hold somebody accountable to standards that they haven't agreed to, right? Excuse me. A lot of you know the song, They Will Know We Are Christians by Our Love. And of course, this comes from a very misinterpreted verse in John 13, verse 35, which reads, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Now, this doesn't mean we are to love everybody unconditionally. Yeshua, Jesus, he's actually speaking to his disciples, and he's saying, the rest of the world will know that you follow what I teach if you show that benevolent love among yourself. Now, benevolence is that caring. You take care of each other. You have a common goal in mind. You're kind of all, and I used this example last week, you're all getting to the finish line in one great big tie. Nobody's ahead of anybody else. That's what that benevolent love is. It is making sure that you are taking the people with you who might be a little slower, who might be a little needier, who might be whatever, and hopefully the people who are ahead of you are taking you along too, so that when you all get to the finish line, you're there together. All right? That's what that benevolent love is. Now, he's not talking about those who don't believe. He's not talking to anyone outside what we would consider today to be the body of believers. Okay? He's strictly speaking to those who follow his teaching. And his teaching, as we know, is the Creator's teaching. It's the God of Abraham's teaching. That's what he was That's what he came to do. Set everybody straight, get everybody back on that one path. More on that in a minute. But that's what he showed up for. And this might come as a shock to some of you. But not everybody does that the same, right? My question for you, as I'm speaking to primarily a group of believers, it's typically who would listen to me. There may be some others out there that are curious, and that's fine. And if you are one of those persons today, hopefully you can look around and determine who's really a believer and who's not when I'm done. Because the question I want to ask is, do your actions show that you identify as a believer? Now, for the people who are outside of the United States, you might be surprised to know that there are some denominations that teach if you're not part of their particular belief system, well, you're just damned to hell and you're not part of the body of believers. Okay? That's what they teach. There's a few of them out there. There's quite a few of them. There's too many of them out there, really. But that, does that sound like that benevolent love for one another? Does it sound like we're holding each other accountable to the same standards as believers? Well, it doesn't sound like it to me. So what's the issue? Well, to begin with, okay, we're holding others to identify who we believe we are by our own feelings. Uh-oh. I probably just stepped on some toes again, but I'm good at that, okay? Not only will I step on them, I will dance all over them. You don't want me as a dance partner. Trust me. We are actually requiring others to identify who we believe based on our feelings. And that's really no different than if a man would say, I'm a woman. And he isn't able to define what a woman is now, especially because by a man making that statement, I'm a woman, he has defiled the definition of a woman and reduced it to his own personal definition. Are you, as we used to say, are you picking up what I'm putting down, right? For a believer to say, if you don't believe the same way I do, then you don't believe in God. It's literally saying, if you don't believe the way I think, you don't believe in the God I've made up in my own mind. Because that is what is happening. That is exactly what is happening. We have created idols and said, this is the God of Abraham. We've created idols and said, this is the son of the God of Abraham. We have created idols as long as it conforms to what we think it should, right? But we have missed what God said. We have completely missed what he tells us we should be doing. Let me take you back to Malachi 2:9 for a second. And remember here, the Creator is speaking to the Levitical priests, and he's chastising them because they have misrepresented. I said that too quick, didn't I? The Almighty is speaking, and he's speaking specifically to the Levitical priests, and he is raking them over the coals because they have misrepresented who the Creator is. And in verse 9, he says, because of all this, I have made you contemptible and base before all the people. You are the lowest, is what it means. You are the lowest because you have misrepresented me. You have misrepresented my word. You are now the scum of the earth, is what he's saying. According as you have not kept my ways, but you have been partial in the law. Of course, the word law there is Torah, his instructions. Because you did not do my ways, thus saith Jehovah. You know, it's not Jerry's ways. It's not Give God 90's ways. It's not Myra's ways. It's not your ways. But the ways of the Creator who designed you to have a long life only if you live the way he designed you to live. If you want to identify as a believer and have the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob consider you to be one of his people and he be your God, well then, there's some things you need to do. And that begins by following his instructions to the best of your ability and not trying to get by with the least you can do. And before somebody gets hung up, all right, because I know I'm going to get comments about this. So before you comment, let me address something. If you're thinking about the sacrifices, all right, or the law's been done away with, let me remind you that even while the exiles were in Babylon, the few true believers were actually flourishing in their exile. You know, they had a burning desire to return to the land of Israel, right? But it was their actions that set them apart from, you know, the people that surrounded them. It was people like Daniel, when he opened a window to pray and was thrown into a den full of lions. It was people like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego who actually refused to bow down to an idol and were put in the furnace, but they all came out unscathed. Remember, let's go to Daniel 6:25 and 27 and 28. King Darius wrote to all the people. This is after Daniel came out of the lion's den completely unscathed. King Darius wrote to all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in all of the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever, and his kingdom, which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in the heavens and the earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Think about that. The king of Babylon, which was the most powerful country at the time, makes a decree that the creator of the universe is the living God. So, you know, if you choose to identify as a believer, well, you should probably stop identifying as someone who insists that your way is the only way and begin living like the Creator's way is the only way, because it is. You know, this isn't about me or you. It's not about feelings. It's not about our desires, because, you know, they hold no merit in the throne room in heaven. Our feelings, our desires, hold no merit in the throne room in heaven. It simply doesn't matter what we think, what we feel. It matters what the Creator of the universe tells us, because it has to be his way. and he will have it his way. You know, the standard, and I don't want to say joke, because the standard saying, I guess, is that in the end, God wins. In the end, God will win. And when he wins, we will hopefully be there to see it. But only if you choose to live the way you're designed to live. Only if you choose to identify as his. And you can do that very simply. All you have to do is follow his instructions. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. So as we go through the motions, go through our actions of daily life, take those instructions with you. Concentrate on them, just like we're told to do every day. And when we do that, I think what you're going to find out is that we will have that long, successful, productive, fruitful, and abundant life that he's promised us. I got through that faster than I thought I would. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Thursday, we will be here live, and hopefully you will too. Until then, many, many blessings, everyone.